ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Canadian Bowler Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Caldwell, and there is Daryl with his transition to fail today, as he was giving me crap before the show about being a great host. Thank you, Daryl, for being my co-host today.
Oh, I'm awesome. Well, the surprise is ruined.
Well, if you didn't know, I guess I'll just introduce our guest right away. This is our special final episode of the 2020 season. I guess season 1 of the Canadian Bowler Podcast is coming to an end today. Our special guest today is the one and only John Siteman. John, how you doing today?
Pretty good there, Luke. It's a beautiful day here in Nova Scotia, and I'm happy to be here talking with you and Daryl here on the show.
Perfect, John. Well, thanks a lot for being here. We really do appreciate it. You've been not only a super fan of our show, but a super fan of bowls as a whole. So it's really great for us to be able to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I always enjoy getting to tune into your show. And as I say, it's always a thing where if we can do anything to grow the game, especially like what you guys are doing, it's the least I can do to help.
That's awesome. Do you want to start off with your normal kick-off question?
Yeah. So, John, I know you know this question already, but it's a question I like to ask everybody. So who is John Siteman today?
So I actually did prepare for this question just to be ultra ready for you there. So I am a 23-year-old from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I've been honored to represent Nova Scotia 9 times now at the national level there. Including hopefully next year as the men's pairs representative at the Canadian Championship. I am the marketing and PR director for Lombos, Nova Scotia. Currently working on finding a real full-time job in public relations, but right now I'm working as the in-arena game DJ for the Halifax Mooseheads of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
That's awesome, John. You say you're 23. I always find that hard to believe that you are so young, considering I think since I started bowls and knowing a little bit about Canada, I've heard your name in Nova Scotia. I've seen you bowl a ton of times. I've seen you travel all over the world. It's just hard to imagine that you're still so young and still have so far to go. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those situations there where I'm lucky enough as a junior, when you start so young, you have many opportunities in the game, and I've been very fortunate to get to do some pretty exciting things over the years.
Now, John, how old were you when you started playing? That's just a personal question. I have no idea.
I started, I believe, it was 2010, I think. So I would have been about 13 when I started. I went to nationals a few years later there, and that was when I played you for the first time.
That's correct.
So, John, being a lifelong junior, having played in a ton of juniors, which event would you say is your most memorable junior event?
That is a tough one for me. I have to narrow it down to 2 because there were 2 that really stand out in my mind. Of course, have to say 2017 Canadian Junior National Championship, when I was lucky enough to get to compete at my home club. Like, just having that hometown support, that's always amazing. It's one of those weeks that I'll never forget. And then actually this past year, the one in Juan de Fuca in Victoria was excellent, because that one I truly came in probably, I'd go as far as to say, the best form that I've probably ever had. And it really showed there. Came literally, I kid you not, 1 shot off of potentially making it into the playoff rounds. And I had a good performance the whole way through. So it really gave me that added confidence going into future national championship events.
That's awesome, John. So just a little bit speaking about competition and whatnot, what are some of your future aspirations in the sport of bowls? Like, where would you like to see you in the next, 5-10 years?
I think that's a good one there for me. Like, I really would love to have the opportunity in the future to get to play for Canada. I've been really going really well in training and everything, and finding ways to compete against as many top-notch players as I can, so that I can keep developing my skills in hopes of wearing the Maple Leaf in the future. And again, it's also just simply just being the best I can be at everything I can. And if it gets me as many wins as possible, who knows?
Right on.
So considering you want to go further, and I see on social media that you post pictures that you're at the lawn bowling club and you're bowling and you're practicing, how important is practice and training to you as you move forward?
I'd say it's very important. There's a lot of the things there when it comes to it. When you're at the level where you're like going to national championships, everybody does the basic things very well. When you're in the practice stage there, for me, I always find that you need to be able to do those fine-tuned things so that when you're in competition, you don't have to worry about the technical stuff, and you can focus on really that mental side of the game that is so important when it comes to winning matches.
Yeah, you speak about the mental side of the game, and I know we've talked about this a lot in the past, but I kind of like to ask every person that's either in a coaching role or a playing role, do you believe that the mental side is, in fact, more important than necessarily the playing side of the game?
Oh, 100%. Like, honestly, it's one of those situations where I kind of joked there because I probably have one of the weirdest mental games there that you'll probably see of anyone at the national level. Because like a lot of people wonder when they see me like doing the yelling, running, all that nuttiness of insanity, and sometimes I react a lot to a negative shot, like negative reaction to a shot there if I have something go wrong. But it's one of those situations where I've always said, if I can get that negativity out, like just let it out. I can, the next chance I get on the mat, my mind is perfectly clear, and I can go about my business and hopefully make an even better shot there after that.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to go about it. I know that I have seen you and heard you on the green as far as yelling at bulls, chasing bulls, all that kind of stuff. There are some awesome pictures that you have on your Facebook of either you yelling at a bull. I think we may have one in a later segment of you. It looks like you're actually levitating off the green because you're so excited about it.
I think I know which one you're talking about for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and that's actually an interesting way to approach it. Just let it out, keep moving on. That's really cool. I wanted to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Daryl.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about that. How focused are you on the green? It almost seems like you're just so intense, so into the match that like it almost doesn't matter what's going on around you. You're like yelling at the bull, you're chasing the bull, you're just right in there.
It's a little bit interesting with that one there. I sometimes may seem a little bit more laser focused into the match than I actually am sometimes. I like when I need to be ultra focused, I'm right in there perfect. And that if I need a chance to kind of step back from the match and kind of just clear my head, like I'm sometimes able to do that as well. But like you say there, yeah, I can be a little bit that way with the laser focus.
Just before we go any forward in the show, I just wanted to cover a few things that we forgot to do in the start. I just wanted to say, if there's any questions for John from the chat, please don't be afraid to put those in there. I know we'd be happy to ask them for you, and I know he'd be happy to answer them for you. And also, just remember to like, subscribe, social medias, all that fun stuff. We'll touch more on that a little bit later in the show, but I just wanted to throw that in there before we got too far.
Yeah, smash that like button.
Oh, thanks, John. So John, anyone who knows you or has seen you on Facebook or Instagram or any of this stuff, they've known that you've had the opportunity to travel to some pretty cool places to play the sport of bowls. And myself, I'm a little jealous that you've had the opportunity to play in the Australian Open. What do you think is so great about the Australian Open? Like, what was it that drew you personally to go travel so far and to play in an event such as the Australian Open?
Well, that one is a good story there, and like so I first went to the Australian Open back in 2016, and we went because my dad was in a nursing home there with Parkinson's, and we had always talked about going down to Australia, and it was going to be like our once in a lifetime trip. And like, if we're going to have an opportunity to go down there and like compete in the best bowls place in the world, what's the point in waiting? Because life's too short. So we went down, and it was just one of those things there that we'd always dreamed about it and wanted to make a reality. And fortunately, 2016 was so amazing that we had our second in a lifetime and third, and we've now been I guess 4 Australian Opens. Would have been the 5th this year, unfortunately, of course, canceled due to COVID-19.
So we've seen you down there, and we've seen some video and some updates from you playing in the Australian Open. What would you say to anybody that was thinking of doing it or is wondering what the Australian game is like? What kind of advice do you have for someone that is thinking of traveling down there to play?
I would say 100% do it. Like, it's one of those situations where like you're, and I've always been in this philosophy up here, and it's even more down there, where if you can play against players that are better than you will become better, because you try to up your game to compete against that level of play. Like, I've been fortunate enough, when I went down there, I've gotten to play against guys like Kelvin Kirko, the Commonwealth Games gold medalist from the Melbourne Commonwealth Games. I've gotten to play against Cody Packer, who's now the Australian #1 as of this past week. You only get better playing down there, and like, if someone did want to up their game, like, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. I never actually thought about it like that, but yeah, that's pretty awesome. Just a quick question here from the chat. Catherine Greener would like to know: is there somebody in bowling that inspires you to greater heights?
That is a good question. One main one, of course, I would have to say, of course, would have to be Ryan Bester. Like, as a Canadian, everybody kind of looks up to him because of the fact that he started in Ontario and applied his skills up here, and then went down there and really has been dominant. And actually, one that I would definitely bring up there when it comes to right here, right now, would actually be my good friend Jordan Koss, because she's been one where she's been pretty similar, of rising up through the circuit here in Canada, and has gone down in Australia and excelled significantly during her times representing Canada. So I always look up to both of them, and pretty much any one of these ones wearing the maple leaf.
Awesome.
So, John, having played all over the place, whether it's in Australia, in other provinces for juniors and whatnot, what would you say is the difference between you bowling and practicing and competing in Nova Scotia versus maybe other provinces in Canada?
That's a very interesting question there, because like I've always found, and this may seem like a weird way to think of it, is that I think Nova Scotia, we have a very aggressive style of play. Like, I've been fortunate there, like with the U25 level play, I was always a bit more conservative style play when I started, like very much that draw style focus, and learning to play more aggressive against guys like Braden Campbell, like Cameron LaFrenz. It helps make you a very well-rounded player, and when you move to other areas, you kind of use that to exploit potential other smaller weaknesses there, whether it be maybe playing that middleweight shot, or like in the case of when I go down to Australia, I've been pretty good at that very through weight to try to like push through bowls or go like trail jacks through to where maybe I may be a little bit further away from the jack than I want, and get right back to where I may be.
I hate backtracking here, John, but I just you've played in Australia, the Australian Open, obviously. You've played all over Canada. I believe you've also played in the United States once or twice.
Once, yeah.
What do you think that Canada needs to do to be able to attract the amount of players that, say, Australia or these big events that go on in other places in the world, or even just to drive up numbers in the sport?
I think really the big thing, and I've seen it a lot in Australia, is really focusing that like we're so used to like as competitive players like your long like 14, 16, 18 end games for getting people into the sport. That doesn't work anymore. Honestly, that does not work. Like I look at examples down like in Australia where they have the Bowls Premier League, and now it's they've expanded it into recreational play through their Jack Attack program. Like that has been really attractive, where you can get someone in, have a 1 hour game, nice and a quick, concise type of format, and that really helps attract people to play the game rather than having it going into like 2.5 and 3 hour format. And then once you get people through, then you can start building them up into where they may be more prone to going into competition like us, where we're going 2.5 hours or more.
That's interesting. Have you taken part in the Barefoot Bowls program down in Australia? Had any of that fun stuff?
I have not, unfortunately. I have seen that around. Generally, when the Australian Open is on, a lot of the club play is pretty much halted there. Right. Like they're using 15 clubs there, and probably close to 80 or 90 different greens there across the Gold Coast. Not much space for barefoot bowls there most times.
Just speaking about all the different clubs they use, I'm just going to exclude the Broad Beach Bowls Club here. What other than that has been your favorite club to travel to?
That is a really good question there, Luke. So I would have to say, and there's probably two. One would be actually Club Helensvale. Club Helensvale there on the Gold Coast. That was where I got my first international singles win. It's like the greens are excellent. The whole atmosphere at the club is amazing. And the other one is actually the Johnson Lombos Club in Sun City, Arizona, where that one I went down there to the U.S. Open this past fall. And it's a 4-green facility. It's probably the closest I would say that you get to like Australian level conditions here in North America. And like it was one of those situations where I went on a little bit of a whim, and I just caught fire there with how well I was able to play early in the event. Unfortunately, didn't make it as far as I hoped, but it's a beautiful facility, and I enjoyed my time there.
Sounds good. I'm going to have to check that out sometime. I really want to travel a little bit around the U.S. when we can, obviously, and play some more bowls. John, I know you're active in the Bowls Nova Scotia kind of provincial ring, and I know you do some work for them, and you do a lot of social media work. I wanted to ask you a question regarding social media, regarding your role in the province. Tell us what you do, and also give us an idea of how important social media and the use of the internet and all its facilities are to growing the sport of bowls.
Okay, so I am the marketing and public relations director for Lombos, Nova Scotia. I started there, I believe now this is about my 4th year that I've been in office there with that. They kind of brought me in there as I graduated from Mount St. Vincent University from their Bachelor of Public Relations program. So it's a situation where it was I could really use my skills there to really give back to the game. And we've been pretty fortunate there, going through a full brand revitalization there, a brand new website, and we've been really our social media has been very big. That was probably the first thing that I did when I started with LBNS, and a lot of like getting to your question there about how important it is, like it's essential. like it's a situation where traditional media may not be as popular now when it comes to reaching a wider audience. Where like I can go on Facebook right now, put a promoted ad for an open house, for example, and reach 20,000, 30,000 people in a second at a fraction of the cost. And like if people put that heart and soul and maybe a few bucks here and there, it can really help with getting that overall reach of the game out to more people. So yeah, 100% social media, big time.
Great question here from the chat. Friend of the show, Rob Law. From your background, how can the sport get more sponsorship?
That is a very good question there. A lot of it comes down to understanding what you have and find and showcasing that in a positive way. Like one thing that I've always been very big on is knowing the data of like how many bowlers you have, what types of competitions they're taking part in, like how many times you get people out to the club in the run of a week. Like if you're able to do that, you really are able to showcase the sponsors like a value added there that if you can't just say these days, hi, we're so-and-so Lombos club, we want money. Like they want to know what they're going to get out of it. And if you can have ways to show them that value that you bring to the table, that really helps when it comes to sponsorship.
I'd also just like to add to your answer there, John. I really like the lane you took there, but I think a lot of what maybe people don't see or don't do is simply just try and just ask. I feel like there's
absolutely.
a lot of people in the sport, like maybe myself or whoever included, where it's like, yeah, well, maybe that company won't sponsor me. Like, why would I even try? So I think a lot of it is just like, just ask.
Oh, absolutely. It was one of the situations like with LBNS, we were very fortunate the past few years to have an excellent partner in East Coast Credit Union. And like nobody would have thought there that Lombos would be sponsored by one of the biggest credit unions in Atlantic Canada. But like we had a pretty fortunate partnership there where our treasurer pitched that opportunity to the team at East Coast, and they were very excited to join with us and have been great partners with LBNS for the past few years.
That's excellent. And I think, Luke, you made a great point. One of those things that I run into all the time is simply getting people to try the sport. I can harp on it, how great it is, where I've gone, what I've done, give them examples of people like John and yourself, Luke, saying, look at all these people that do great things. Look at how much they're enjoying it. Look at the wonderful places that they're going. It doesn't seem to faze them, but once you get them on the green and you start playing and they kind of the penny finally drops, I guess, and they say, you know what, this is actually kind of fun, or this is a nice place to be, or to come out for an hour. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And it's one of those situations where like it all goes back to as well, having that very good marketing base where like utilizing your website and social media to showcase what's going on in your club. Like there's so many times where before I joined there, my mom had wanted to join the sport bowls for 30 years. Like she had been driving by the club for forever. And she never knew what was going on because there wasn't really a website and there wasn't really a way to kind of know what was going on. So utilizing stuff like a website, like social media, is very big to be able to help with helping sponsors understand what's going on at your club and potentially be able to monetize that into sponsorship.
Well said. Well said. I guess moving forward, So John, you talk a lot about all these different clubs that you've been able to travel to, and all these events you've been able to attend. What is something outside of let's just say outside of World Championships? Because we have talked a bit before about being able to play international play without being part of a national team. What is something that you would like to attend, or something you would like to go to?
That's a very good question. Like outside, like one of the main ones, and it's definitely on my bucket list, is going down to play in New Zealand. Like they have their open championships there, and that's like the green conditions are excellent. The competition is top notch, and I've always heard great things about that event. And like there's always some event down in Australia, and as well, the other one on my list would be like Hong Kong. Go play Tiger Bowls. That I've always heard lots of great things. Closest I've gotten to is my bright pink shirt there that I tend to wear at a few events. There's so many opportunities there in this game, and I'd love to get to go all over the place to show my stuff and see what I can do against the best in the world.
Going along that theme, taking this year out of it for obvious reasons, what is something that you would like to see in 2021? Can be big or small, something either for your club, your province, or Canada as a whole. What would you like to see happen in the new year?
That is a really good question there, Daryl. So for me, I think the main thing is we really need to find ways to encourage that grassroots participation and get people back into the game, because one issue that we have there in our province is that like we don't have as many people. Like usually the competitive people is a very small portion of our regular membership, and we've been doing a few good things there when it comes to encouraging people to go into newer stages of competition. Like we have the Blue Nose Championship, which is almost similar to you guys in Ontario with your novice championships. We have it's a triples tournament there, and that's been a good start. And we've been hoping to expand that a little bit. And I'd love to see other provinces try to keep expanding that type of grassroots level of competition. Because if we can do that, we can expand people down the pathway, hopefully to potentially go into provincial events. And then that only helps when it comes to making competition even better, and maybe boosting money for people to attend national championships. Because if you have more people competing in provincial events, you can get more sponsorship. You get more sponsorship, you could have more opportunity to boost prize money and get more people able to financially afford attending the national championship.
Yeah, I don't think I could agree with you more, John. For myself, growing up, the novice championships was always a staple in my yearly calendar. So yeah, I think the stuff like that is always great.
So we have a question in chat from the one and only friend of the show, Cameron Lafreng.
Had this feeling he'd be popping in.
I missed the first half. Has he talked about his record against me? Any comment, John? Yeah.
I will just remind Cameron once again there that I have beaten him one time in our Dudley Kerr men's triples tournament. He won every other game, but I still got the win 13-11 over him, the legendary Jack Robar, and Mark Singer. He still won that tournament. I see he'll mention that there. His name is on the trophy. But yeah, we've had many good battles there, Cameron and I. He's been a great supporter of me, and I've learned a lot from him.
Awesome.
So Luke, you want me to go to the photo section of our little talk here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Give me 1 second to just set this up. All right, John, what we like to do here on the show and with most of our guests is dig into their Facebook or social media and find some pictures interesting ones. Sometimes they're embarrassing, you never know, but allow you to talk about them, give some context behind them, and why they're meaningful to you. So we will kick it off with this one. You and Ryan Bester.
Yeah. Okay. So that one is from the 2018 Australian Open. That was me with Ryan after he had a excellent 21-17 victory in the men's singles final over Sean Baker. That was probably one of the coolest experiences watching the sport down there. Like, he's a phenomenal player, and like getting to see that one where a lot of people assumed he'd go to the typical master blaster style of play that people would expect out of him. But it was probably one of the best displays of draw bowling I've seen from him in a final. And it just worked out so well for him on the day, of course, with him hoisting up the trophy. Over about 800 or so of us in the men's singles that year. That year, I was lucky enough. I actually played against Sean Baker, his opponent in the final in the men's fours, and was lucky enough to hand him one of only 4 losses I believe he had all tournament.
Oh, wow.
So it was a fun final to get to seeing Sean against a person I've admired so much there, such as Ryan Bester.
Now we have a thumb in the photo, I think, or a finger, but give us a little context behind this one.
So that one was from the 2018 Canadian Championship. That was my first time representing Nova Scotia in one of the team events at the Nationals. I was lucky enough. We had been offered an additional spot in the men's pairs competition, and I ended up playing in that alongside Mark Robar. And like that one, I was very grateful to have the opportunity to be able to compete in the majors for the first time. And we had a few pretty tight games there. We won over a British Columbia. It was Paul Lee and Earl Luck. And then the other one where we shocked a few people was a little 17-14 win over Alberta's Pat Bird and John McDonald, who ended up going on to win the event. But yeah, that was an amazing week in Regina. They put on an amazing show. I was just happy to be a part of representing my province, and hopefully the first time of many now that I finally actually won a provincial championship.
Oh, I hope so. Junior photo. I know this is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, that would be from the 2018 Canadian Juniors. That one was in Winnipeg. That one was a very fun week because like I came into that one similar to 2019. I was playing extremely well, and it ended up coming down that in the singles, our final round match was me versus Braden. We were 1-2 in our pool. Winner goes on to the playoffs. So like
those 2 handsome fellas down in the front.
Oh yeah, there you go. So that was a pretty special memory. And then of course the pairs. I was lucky enough to be playing there with Corey Millard from Ontario, and we were pretty fortunate to make our way into a tiebreaker. Unfortunately, losing to our illustrious co-host there. And his partner Amy Spence went on to win that event. Nail biter tiebreaker though.
What was that, Luke?
Is that insert party horn, Daryl?
Oh, insert party horn.
Pew 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 pew.
John kind of doing what he does alongside Jake Shuknek. Where is this and what were you doing?
Okay, so that one was at my home club in Dartmouth. That was during the under 25s. I was on a bye, and that one I was commentating. I believe it was Alex LeBlanc versus Carter Watson, and that one came down. It was an excellent drive from Carter to win that match over Alex. I've been pretty fortunate there working with BCB, doing some commentary on their events. And actually, at one of the Australian Opens, I also was fortunate to get to do some commentary alongside the great Clive Adams, Ringside Clive, as they like to call him. And I always enjoy getting to call games. I've been fortunate not just in bowls, but also to work with the crew at Eastlink TV, calling some of the hockey and curling action here in Atlantic, Canada. It's a fun side of my skills there that if I'm not competing, chances are if you put a microphone in my hand, I'll always take it and talk with it.
Nice. Now, this is the one we were talking about where it looks like you're levitating off the ground. And Mike Patulli, another friend of the show, kind of giving the stink face. But what's going on here?
Okay, so that one was probably, I would go as far as to say, one of the best games of my life. And that was in the U25 National Championship in North Vancouver. I was 0-3 going into the final round. I needed to win against Mike to force another tiebreak against Mike to try to get into the bronze medal game. It was one of those situations where just everything on the day, like I was just making shot after shot after shot. And against someone who I admire as much as Michael, I forced it. Sure, I didn't end up winning that game. I ended up losing that one 21-16. I pushed one of the best ones in the business, in my view, to really play every shot in his book to get the win. I was just fortunate to show my stuff and get a pretty good game out of that.
And we got the famous pink Tiger Bull shirt as well.
Yeah, that one, I'll also say there, that one was, it was Jordan Koss brought that back when she went to Tiger Bowls. They surprised me with that as a little late birthday present. And it's given me a lot of good luck over the years.
Awesome. Now, we have some submissions from your mom, and I couldn't not put it in since she sent them in and said, these are perfect for your photo segment. John, what's going on here?
That was when I was 3 years old. It went a little Christmas photo shoot action there. Right with the old Barney the dinosaur. Oh boy.
Okay, we'll move on from that one, but there's another.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, that's another one. That was a little bit older. You can see a few lost teeth here and there. But yeah, Christmas is always a special time of year for us, and those are a few little special memories from when I was a little bit younger than I am now.
Oh, that's perfect, John.
Those are great.
Yeah, we appreciate
Thanks for
it.
sending those in. Yeah.
And thanks to your mom for contacting me right away and saying, I have two pictures that are perfect for you for the Christmas episode. Thank you, Anne-Marie. We do appreciate you as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, she had to work today, so she would have been watching live, but I'm sure she'll be watching the replay there a little bit later.
Awesome.
Well, John, if she can't watch the replay later, we are available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. So if she needs to listen to it on her ride to work,
there you go.
For her.
Awesome. So, Luke, do you have any more questions for John here?
I do not think I have any more questions for John today.
John, it's been a pleasure. We really wanted to get you on a special show because of all the stuff that you do for us without even us asking you to do. Your experience on the PR side, your work in Nova Scotia, your enthusiasm for bowls is legendary, and you're so young. You have so far to go. Thank you for being on the show, and I guess happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you very much once again for having me. And like I say there, thank you guys for what you guys do to promote this amazing sport that we love. It's something there that if we can keep showing that passion for the game and just keep showcasing what we have, because we have an amazing thing in this sport. And if we can keep doing that into 2021, we'll be even stronger as a sporting community.
Awesome. Well said, John. Thanks a lot, John. And like Daryl said, Merry Christmas. Have great holidays.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys too. Have a good rest of your show, and happy holidays to all of your viewers.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Thank you.